Hi, and welcome to my online course, Crocheting from Scratch. My name is Maria Isabel from Chavi Patterns. I'm a crochet designer, and if you know nothing about crochet, this is the perfect course for you. I will show you from holding the crochet hook, making your first chains, single crochets, and rows, to end with a cute project, a practical set of coasters that you can make for your own home or as a lovely gift. The complete course is divided into lessons, which you can select in the description of this same video. And it comes with the pattern as well, including written instructions and photo tutorials to check out whenever you need. A complete course for you to take your first steps into this crafting technique. For the complete course, you'll need one 70-gram skein of worsted weight yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, 2 stitch markers, scissors, measuring tape, and a paperboard piece measuring 6 cm high and approximately 10 cm wide. Within the written pattern included in the course, you will find the complete list of materials and additional references which may be of help to find them more easily. To begin, we have to join yarn and hook, and for that we'll make a magic ring, also called slip ring. Take the beginning thread and pull the strand coming from the skein over the beginning thread to shape a loop. Move the yarn behind the loop and pull through to shape a second loop. Take the hook and insert from below. Hold the loop with the hook and pull from the yarn coming from the skein to adjust. And the magic ring is complete. Let's undo this to repeat the steps once more. Fold the beginning yarn downwards and pull over the yarn coming from the skein to shape a loop. Take the yarn behind the loop and pull through to shape a second loop. Take the hook, insert from below to take the loop. Pull the beginning yarn to close the knot and pull the yarn coming from the skein to adjust. And the magic ring is ready with the beginning yarn on the front. It's important not to leave the magic ring too open. The crochet hook could come off, but we don't have to tighten too much either. We would get the opposite result, not being able to move the crochet hook freely. What we should do is cover the complete diameter of our crochet hook by leaving a little air below for yarn to glide over the hook with ease. It's essential to learn the right posture of hands, crochet hook, and yarn before moving on with the following steps. With the main hand, take the crochet hook, just like you do when holding a pencil, with 2 fingers, 3 fingers, or as comfortable as possible, and take your opposite hand, open, and move the index finger below the yarn. Again, index finger below the yarn, and close together with the thumb to hold the beginning yarn. And close remaining fingers to hold the yarn coming from the skein. The opposite hand will handle the yarn, while the main hand will handle the crochet hook. Let's repeat the steps. With the main hand, take your hook, With the opposite hand, move the index finger below the yarn, close with the thumb to hold the beginning yarn, and close remaining fingers to hold the yarn coming from the skein. And we're ready to move on by understanding the right position of each element. We have the magic ring and we'll continue with the foundation of crochet, the chains. Take the hook with the main hand and with the opposite hand, move the index finger below the yarn, close with the thumb to hold the beginning thread, and close remaining fingers to hold the yarn coming from the skein, allowing the magic ring to move freely over the crochet hook. To start, move index and thumb to the back, making space and thread available. Again, move index and thumb to the back to create available space and thread to manipulate. Move the hook by going under the upper thread. Go back and repeat. From the beginning. Move back. Take the hook under the upper thread. Not from above. That's wrong. Move the hook by going under the upper thread and hold from the top of the crochet hook. Draw near and close the index and the thumb to get closer and regain control. And with the main hand, which should be able to move the hook with ease, pull back and draw through the loop on the hook to make the first chain. And I will undo to go over the steps once again. I remove the hook and unravel the chain, leaving the magic ring. I insert the hook from the front and we're ready to repeat the chain, taking care that the beginning yarn is always on the front. Move into posture and we're ready to begin. Move back. Take the hook under the upper thread, shaping a yarn over. Close and draw near again to have better control of hook and yarn. And pull back the hook to draw through the loop and shape the first chain. And repeat the same steps to shape the following. Move back. Take the hook under the upper thread to shape a yarn over. If it comes off, just repeat. Take the yarn over again. Draw near and close your fingers and pull back the hook by drawing through the loop to shape the second chain and repeat. Move back. Yarn over by taking the hook under the upper thread. Draw near and close the fingers by holding with the thumb the last chain made. And pull back to draw through the loop on the hook. And the third chain is done. And I continue repeating by opening up, yarn over, draw near and close the fingers, and pull back to draw through the loop on the hook. And I continue, yarn over, and draw through the loop on the hook. And you'll be able to do this a little faster every time. When starting with the chains, it's common to make some of them very loosely, creating open spaces, while in other chains we tend to tighten, making it hard for the crochet hook to go through the loop. This will create irregularities in our foundation chains, with very loose chains, and others that are very tight. In those cases, it's best to unravel until reaching the point where we have a more constant work. Insert the hook from the front to hold the loop once again and repeat. And make those chains once again to try and get a more regular work, making sure to take yarn overs that cover the diameter of our crochet hook, and that after pulling through the loop on the hook, we take enough yarn for the thread to slide freely, leaving a small space of air below. This will allow us to pull through the loop on the hook easier, which will also result in a more even work. You will also notice we are seeing the chains from the front of the work, in the shape of a flat braid. But they also have a wrong side, with this kind of intertwined links. When working, it's essential to hold your work with your opposite hand from the front of the work, looking at that flat braid, in order to watch the chains as you make them. And it will also be key to keep moving your fingers up as you go crocheting each chain, to hold your work firmly and have more control over the hook and the yarn, and being able to work with more ease. Because if you let your foundation chains loose, by holding them from the lower edge, you'll have poor control over the hook and yarn, and it will make it more difficult to make yarn overs and continue. And it's also very likely that your foundation chains will start to twist, and that without noticing, your work starts to distort little by little. Moving up your hand will allow you to have a more even result. So, continue repeating until getting a long strip of foundation chains. Long enough until we feel we have practiced the movements with the hook and the yarn to get a more regular work. Then undo that long chain. This worked as great practice to go back and now start with our crochet project. Unravel until reaching the magic ring, so we can start. Take the magic ring with the beginning yarn to the front and insert the hook. And we're ready to continue. Start by making 15 chains. 13, 14, 15, and check by counting from the first chain up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. That's the last chain under the loop on the hook. Make one more chain for a total of 16, and we'll continue with single crochets starting in the second chain from the hook. Now counting from the last chain made down, without counting the loop on the hook. Count 1, 2, and there we'll insert the hook to start row 1. Insert the hook going under the upper loop of the chain. The tip of the hook allows us to open space, making it more visible where we have to insert. Again, count 1, 2, and insert the hook by going under the top loop only. Move back to have space and yarn available. Yarn over. Draw near and close your opposite hand to have more control. Pull back the hook. Draw through one loop on the hook. Notice you're only holding the top loop of the chain. Move back again. Yarn over. Draw near and hold your work firmly. Pull back the hook to draw through the last 2 loops. And the first single crochet is done. I will undo and repeat to practice the steps once again. Drop the hook and slowly unravel that first single crochet. Unravel one more chain and even more chains if I want to start with more regular foundation chains. Insert the hook and count to make sure and have the required number of chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and complete 13, 14, 15, and one more for a total of 16 chains. And starting in second chain from the hook, I will continue with single crochets. 1, 2, insert the hook going under the top loop of the second chain, move back, yarn over, draw near, pull through one loop on the hook, notice that the foundation chain you're working on opens up, move back, take a second yarn over, draw near the hook, and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. And the first single crochet is finished. And for next single crochets, I will continue in each following chain. The first single crochet was made in this chain that opened up. For the next single crochet, I will go to the next chain by inserting under the top loop. Move back, yarn over, draw near, pull through one loop on the hook, move back again, take a second yarn over, draw near, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. and the second single crochet is finished. Notice that the first was made in the previous chain and that this one is made in the next, which is now opening up. Continue with the next single crochet in the next chain by inserting the hook under the top loop. Move back, yarn over, pull through one loop on the hook, take another yarn over, and pull through the last two loops on the hook. And the third single crochet is finished, and we are able to identify them more clearly. Always the last single crochet made, opening up the chain, and I move on to the next chain to continue. Insert the hook, yarn over, pull through one loop on the hook, yarn over, and pull through the two loops on the hook to complete another single crochet. And go on by making one single crochet in each of the following chains. Trying to make the steps with more confidence and a little faster. When starting with single crochets, it's common to make several mistakes. It's important to check that we are making one single crochet in every foundation chain, because it's very likely that we skip one chain without noticing. We may not be able to see it right away, but further ahead it will change our stitch count and it can distort our crochet work. Look closely, and if you notice, unravel the single crochet after the skipped chain, insert back your hook, and rectify by making the single crochet in the skipped chain. Another mistake is making two single crochets in one chain. This can be more visible. You will even see that the chain with those two stitches opens up a bit more. And in a similar way, this can distort your work further ahead and change your stitch count. So if you notice, unravel that last stitch, insert back the hook, and continue with only one single crochet for every chain. Another mistake when starting is making single crochets that are too loose by pulling a lot more yarn. Or the opposite, single crochets that are too tight without pulling enough yarn, which makes it hard for the hook to go through. This will also result in an irregular work with very closed stitches and others very open, which will create an uneven shape in our project. But we can always go back until reaching the point where we feel we have a more regular work. Insert the hook and correct, making sure to pull enough yarn to cover the complete diameter of our hook to let it move freely, and taking yarn overs in the same way by pulling the necessary amount to cover the hook to close comfortably. And we will get more even stitches and a more regular work. Another mistake is letting our foundation chains loose, because the foundation chain can get twisted and we might be inserting the hook over a twisted foundation chain. That will definitely cause more problems as you go on, and it will be a lot more visible, because apparently you're working over the right side of the chains. But there are parts where the foundation is twisted, so when noticing, unravel and correct by untwisting the foundation chain to make sure we'll work on the right side of the chains and without twisting. Drawing near and closing with the hand to the stitches we have just made will always prevent this from happening, and it will also prevent us from crocheting over the wrong side of the chains. The position of our thumb is essential to hold our work and the thread, and to be able to visualize in which chain we should be inserting the hook to make the following single crochets. And so we continue by making one single crochet in every following chain, trying to avoid these mistakes until completing the row. Continue with single crochets until reaching the last chain. Take a look at your work. If you notice that stitches are very uneven, or that your foundation chains look very distorted, then drop the hook and unravel. It will always be best to undo and repeat to feel confident we're making the right work right from the beginning. You will notice that when unraveling the single crochets, your chains remain a little open, so it's best to unravel until reaching the magic ring. To repeat the work right from the foundation chain, to get a nice project right from the beginning. Insert back the hook, make 15 chains, plus 1 for 16 in total. Make a long loop to drop the hook and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Insert back the hook, pull the loop, and we're ready to repeat the first row of single crochets. Second chain from the hook, and I insert to make my first single crochet. And I go to the next chain to make the next single crochet. One single crochet in each following chain, with more confidence of which steps to follow and which mistakes to avoid. Until reaching the last chain, to make the last single crochet of the row. Congratulations, you have finished your first row of single crochets. It's very important to identify the structure of the single crochets. I'll pull a longer loop to drop the hook and show you more closely. You can see there's one single crochet holding each of the foundation chains. And that stitch has a structure similar to a V shape. And that structure is holding from one of the foundation chains. That's what we see when looking at the single crochet from the front. And if we look at it from the top, we'll see a shape similar to the chains. So, from the front, the single crochet looks like a V, and from the top, it looks like a chain. And each one of the stitches in the row has that same structure. The V shape, and on top and more to the side, the chain. If we understand this from the beginning, it will be less complicated to move forward, to figure out where we'll be making following stitches. It's also key to identify the first single crochet of the row, which tends to hide a little because it's the first stitch of the row. But if we use our fingers to open up, we can see the V shape on the front, which is holding the second chain, and on top the chain shape, which bends a little because of being the first stitch. It's important to identify the stitches from the top, because it's below those top chains that we will be inserting our hook to make single crochets of next row. We'll be going under those stitches to make the following single crochets. And now when you take a look from the front, it will be more visible, now that we have understood the structure of stitches. And this is where I suggest to use one of the stitch markers over the first stitch of this row. By going under and through the complete top chain. And holding both loops of the stitch. This will be useful for next row as an indication of where to make last stitch. This will prevent mistakes when moving on with following rows. And now we're ready to continue with row 2. Let's continue with the second row to make our project grow. Take the right posture of hands, hook, and yarn, and by leaving the working yarn behind, turn the work horizontally for you to see the back of stitches from row 1. And marker from the first single crochet on the opposite side. I'll go back to repeat the steps. Row 1 is finished. I take my work and with the working yarn behind the hook, turn row 1 horizontally to see the back side of stitches. Draw near and close the fingers to regain control of the work. I chain 1 to start row 2. This chain won't count as one stitch. It's just made to level up with the following stitches. And I'll make the first single crochet of the row in the first visible space. Point the crochet hook from the front and insert in the first available space by going under the complete top chain of that stitch. Yarn over, pull through the stitch, take a second yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. And the first single crochet is finished. And we can identify the structure from the front in a V shape and from the top as a chain. And it's here where we'll be using the second marker to identify this first single crochet of second row, going under and through the complete top chain. And the first stitch has been marked. And I'll continue with the row by making one single crochet in every following stitch. Insert the hook by going under the complete chain of next stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. And second single crochet of row 2 is finished. And I continue by inserting the hook in next stitch. Yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. To finish another single crochet, and we'll continue by making one single crochet in every following stitch. You'll notice you'll start to crochet a little faster. Also that it will be easier inserting the hook inside each following stitch, rather than inserting in the foundation chains when we were completing row 1. It's also important to keep on checking our work while we move on, to avoid skipping stitches, which will affect your stitch count and distort your work, and also avoid increasing stitches, which will also affect the stitch count and the shape of the work. And remember, if you don't feel satisfied, you can always go back and unravel until reaching the point where you feel the work is more consistent. You can even go back to the beginning of the row. Unraveling until this point, the loop before starting row 2. Insert back the hook, move back into posture, and repeat row 2 from the beginning. Chain 1, and make one single crochet in the first stitch available. Take the marker and place it in the first single crochet by going under the top chain. And continue with one single crochet in each of the following stitches. Now feeling more confident to crochet with ease. And continue until finishing the row, until reaching the marker we placed on first row. This marker indicates where to make the last single crochet. Remove the marker, insert the hook, going under the complete top chain of that stitch. And complete the last single crochet of row 2. And row 2 is finished. Another way to make sure of making complete rows, that in this case include 15 stitches, is to count. Make a long loop and drop the hook. And there are 2 ways of doing this. One is from the front by counting the V shape of each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Or by counting the top chains, starting with the chain that holds the marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And we're absolutely positive that we're making rows of 15 stitches. To continue with row 3, we'll follow the steps we made for row 2. Take the work, and with the working yarn behind the hook, turn the work horizontally in order to see stitches from row 2 from the back. And we're ready to start a new row. Chain 1 to start, single crochet 1 in the first stitch, and first single crochet of row 3 is finished. Take the unused marker and place in this first single crochet. And I continue with one single crochet in each following stitch. Until completing the row, where I'll find the marker in the end. That marker lets me know where I have to make the last single crochet. Remove the marker and finish last single crochet of the row. And row 3 is finished with 15 single crochets. You'll notice that the foundation chains shape into a slight curve. This is common in first rows and it will start flattening as we move up. But if you notice that the curve is very pronounced downwards, this could mean that your foundation chains are too tight, that your single crochets are too loose, or that you increased single crochets. Or instead, if your work puckers upwards, this means your chains were made too loose, that you skipped stitches in following rows, or that you tightened the single crochets. For any of those two cases, I would suggest unraveling the work until crocheting more consistently. It's also key to take care of turns to begin new rows, remembering that we are crocheting from the foundation chains upwards. When turning the work, this always has to be done horizontally before starting a new row. But when starting to crochet, it's common to misinterpret structure of our crochet work, and we may begin new rows over the wrong edge by mistake, like this, working the stitches over one end of rows. And that happens when we don't turn the work correctly. Creating stitches on one side of our work, instead of the top edge, as it should be. And this can cause a lot of confusion when continuing like this. It's very important to keep on watching our work as we go crocheting, to make sure we are crocheting over the top edge of the stitches and making our crochet work grow from the foundation chains up. And again, if you notice this mistake, just go back until reaching the point where you were following the right direction. But if you only have a slight curve and you're working with 15 stitches, which is correct, then I suggest you continue making more rows. Take the work again. Turn. And repeat like in rows 2 and 3 to start. Chain 1, single crochet 1 in first stitch, place the marker, and continue making 1 single crochet in each following stitch. To complete 1 more row. And continue practicing for some more rows by following steps of rows 2 and 3. And this is how our work will look like some more rows ahead, with the foundation chains straighter and also straight sides, because we're always making 15 single crochets in each row. And that's the reason for the importance of markers or counting stitches every now and then. With more and more practice, our eyes will easily identify stitches and rows, so it won't be necessary to use the markers. We'll feel more confident to start new rows by making the first single crochet without placing the marker, and it will also become more natural to see where to make the last single crochet of every row without needing the marker. To continue making complete rows and the straight work. And that's how we'll be crocheting with more and more confidence. Just like we learned the structure of single crochets, it's also key to learn the structure of rows. You'll notice that our work has 2 sides, very similar between each other. But if you look closer, you'll notice that on one side we see the V shape of the stitches, and that if we turn the work, we'll see the inverted V shapes with a horizontal thread on top, which is the back side of stitches. And on this same side, we can see the V shapes of stitches of next row. And if we turn, we'll see the inverted V shapes with the horizontal top thread. And that's how we identify every row made. One from the front with the V shapes, and the next with the inverted V shapes with the horizontal thread on top. So, if we begin counting on this side, we'll start with the V shapes of row 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 rows made so far, and if we count from the other side, we'll get the same number of rows, but starting with the back side of stitches from row 1. For your first crochet project, you need to complete 16 rows of 15 stitches. Count the rows that you've made so far, and continue crocheting until completing the required rows. And this is the work by the end of row 16. To make sure the row count is correct, drop the hook and start counting from the foundation chains. In this case, I will start from the back side of row 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And we're ready to fasten off. Place the hook once again. This will measure an approximate height of 10.5 centimeters and 11 centimeters wide. There may be differences in measurements here because we all crochet with different tensions and you might not be using the same yarn as me. If you need more centimeters to reach the desired height, crochet some more rows. And if what you need is more stitches to reach the width, then you can go back to the beginning and add some more stitches. So, once you get the final size, take the scissors and cut by leaving a 10 centimeter tail. Make a long loop, drop the hook, and draw the tail through the loop. Once and twice, and keep on pulling little by little until reaching the bottom to close firmly. And we have fastened off the main piece. To give the finishing touches to our coasters, we have to make the fringes. We need to create strips of yarn of 12 centimeters each. By using our paperboard piece, which is 6 centimeters high, we will wrap around the yarn to create several strips of yarn at one time. Start by covering half of the paperboard and make one complete round. We'll count as one complete round every time we reach the top edge. So, continue wrapping 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 complete rounds. Hold from the top and go through with the scissors to cut. And this is how I get 15 strips of yarn of 12 centimeters each. This will make the 15 fringes for the top edge of our coaster. And we'll need another 15 strips for the bottom edge. To continue, take one strip and fold in half to shape a loop. Take the hook and insert by going under the complete top chain of the first stitch. Take the loop, insert the hook by going under, pull through the stitch, yarn over with both ends of the fringe, and pull through the loop on the hook. Pull to tighten, and the first fringe is finished. To make the next, repeat the steps. Fold the strip in half, creating a loop. Take the hook, insert in the next stitch by going under the complete top chain. Take the loop with your hook, pull through the stitch, yarn over with both ends of the strip, and pull through the loop on the hook. And pull to tighten. Another fringe is finished. And continue by repeating the same steps to make one fringe in each of the following stitches. Until reaching the last stitch to make the last fringe. And our top edge is finished. Now twist over the same side of the work. Now we'll make the fringes over the bottom edge, on the back side of the foundation chains. Once again, take one strip and fold in half to shape a loop. And with the hook, insert in the first available space, just below the foundation chain. By inserting the hook, going under 2 threads. Take the loop, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through the loop on the hook. Pull to tighten, and the first fringe is finished. This time made over the bottom edge. Take the next strip of yarn and prepare. And insert in next chain. By going through with the hook under 2 threads. Take the loop, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through the loop, pull to tighten, and the second fringe is finished. Continue in the same way by placing one fringe in each following chain until last stitch of this edge. And the 15 fringes of the bottom edge are finished. And this is how our project looks with fringes on both edges. Now we'll take our scissors to make them more even. I want them to be 3 centimeters long approximately, so measure with your tape. Make sure they are all straight up as possible. Take the scissors and begin cutting. Little by little, until cutting all fringes from one side. Twist the work and repeat on the other side. And our coaster is finally finished, with the fringes on both edges. With the complete 70 grams skein, you can get up to 5 coasters, which you can use for your home or to make a beautiful gift. And to give them a special touch, you can take a contrasting color of yarn, which you can tie into a bow to finish that lovely and unique present. And with your very first crochet project. You can even make them in different colors. I really hope you have enjoyed this course and that it's motivating to keep on crocheting.